Coming to you live from the Police Service of Northern Ireland's special supernatural investigation basement. It's this week's Apocalypse. I am your co-host Kevin Lennon. With me, as always, is Chief Investigator John Ferris. John, how are you doing today?
I know we're so close. We're so close to finding this killer.
Oh man, if we could just get that one clue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I love your
I can feel it in my bones.
I love this like cork board you've got up here with all the bits of red string going from like, you know, victim 1, victim 2 and all that stuff. It's very, very, very cool.
It is the only way to solve a murder, as far as movies have taught me.
Exactly. I've seen it in the movies, so it must be true. Now, of course, the problem with this killer is that it's not just a killer. You know, we have evidence that we can't share here because it's confidential.
Yep.
That this is in fact what we would term as a supernatural serial killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hence why we're in the supernatural investigation basement, which I thought was a joke because they just wanted us out of the way.
It's well, I can understand why they don't want people to know about it.
Yeah, I mean, but it couldn't be that much of a joke because bodies keep showing up. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that'd be if it was a joke. If it was just, you know, to keep us busy. It's a hell of a lot of effort to go to keep us busy, right? Yeah. So no one can figure out how these killings are happening or who's doing them. It's like a locked room mystery, but there's no way in or out of the room. Ooh! But also, you know, the PKE, that's psychokinetic energy to the uninitiated, is so far off the scale. At least this sort of 1987 Ghostbusters PKE meter toy that I have is just shaking about all over the place. So I'm convinced.
Yep.
No,
I'm convinced the rest of the precinct maybe not so much, which explains why we're in the basement. But
yeah,
we'll show them.
Yeah, we have our own entrance and exit as well, so they don't have to look at us coming in. So nice one, guys. Thanks a lot. But we're gonna show them by solving this crime. But the problem is, John, I mean, you need a keen investigative mind for these kinds of things, and yeah, I feel like we're a bit scuppered there. But I have found 3 movies that might help out our department in catching and restraining this killer in some way. So let's see now. What have I got here? So I have from 1998. I have Fallen, directed by.
Oh, do you want me to help you get back up?
Are you going to do that all the way through? Because
no.
if you are, I'm just gonna. This is the last episode, and I'm just gonna end it. Okay.
Okay. That's fair. I got one though.
Okay. I have the movie Fallen
from
1998, directed by Gregory Hoblit. Then I also have from 1996 The Frighteners, directed by Peter Jackson. And then I also have from 1997, directed by Kiyosho Kurosawa, no relation. The film Cure. So I don't know, The Cure. That's vague.
These titles are giving us nothing. Well, the Frighteners maybe.
Frighteners, it's but Fallen. I mean, you already made a bad joke about that, so I'm just going to move swiftly by it.
I made a joke about.
Indeed, yes. We should. It's just a very serious subject. You shouldn't be joking about this kind of stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. So, let's sit down, if you will, and you keep it buttoned up, mate, and we'll watch these movies. Alright, well, I feel suitably educated now. Thank you very much. Well, I think I do. I'm not sure. I need to figure out kind of what I did really, really learn from Gregory Hoblit's Fallen from 1998. So, John, what did you think of Fallen?
The cast of Fallen is amazing.
It's fucking wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the amount of amazing actors in this. Like, of course, like Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
as your main.
Yeah,
you've got John Goodman, I always find people like kind of always forget just how good John Goodman is.
He's brilliant.
He's class. Donald Sutherland, James Gandolfini. Like,
don't forget Elias Koteas.
Oh, Elias Koteas is actually pretty. Yeah, he's awesome in this actually for the small screen time that he has in it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's probably all the positives I have to say on this movie. No, well, I'm being a bit harsh. I kind of like the concept of this movie more than I like how they execute it. To be honest, it's so long and so slow, and it doesn't. We'll get to this later, but like this movie doesn't kind of justify its slowness. I don't think anyway, and I never really get the tension in it. There's no real. I don't know. So much of it just seems very clunky. Like the dialogue in it is woeful at times. At one point, someone actually says the line of, sorry, it's written down here somewhere because I forgot it. Everything is personal if you're a person. I fucking laughed out loud with that. And then as well, his brother character like says, because there's like something like I don't know I was getting kind of vibes of David Arquette's character from Scream with his brother. Like I was like going, did he get kicked by a horse or something?
That's what I was thinking of. Literally the same words.
It's like
in my head. Maybe he did get kicked in the head by a horse.
They never really address it, but he seems like he's got some problems. And at one point, he's like asking Denzel Washington's character, "Do you ever get scared?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Me too." And then that's it. That's the conversation. Like, what the fuck was that in service for? But even like I don't know the start of it, like that the whole, or not so much the start of it, but this voiceover thing that happens throughout. I'm not a big fan of that in general. Like it can be used to good effect in a few movies. Like when it's used almost as in a comedic way, I prefer it. But like Shawshank Redemption's a good example of I like it being used in that.
Yeah.
But in this, I don't know. It's just very cheesy, and like especially it's done in like they're trying to evoke that kind of noir thing.
Yeah, they're very much trying to evoke noir thriller throughout this thing, but with a supernatural twist.
Yeah,
that's sort of the whole vibe of this film. I feel like
definitely.
I did like it when they were like going heavy on the noir stuff. When I could see it happen, like there's a lot of like they've dressed them in a way of like detectives from like noir films from like the 50s. They're all wearing like shirts, ties, and like braces. Yeah, you know. So like, and they do a lot of sort of like holding on them, sitting at like opposite sides of the desk in busy offices, going wah, 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 you know, and having sort of lively conversations, and then like being like grim and thoughtful. And I did kind of enjoy that, but you're right. It is way too long. Like they linger on some stuff, and they have a lot of conversations that go nowhere with people where you think they're gonna find things out, and then they don't find things out.
Which would be grand if it was like, I don't know, maybe giving an insight to the characters or something like that, or giving it like a wee extra flavor. Like that stuff can be done exceptionally well. It can be utilized very well, but it doesn't really, like as you said, doesn't go anywhere in this movie. It just kind of cuts and then goes to a different scene, and you're left like going, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of jumping around. Oh, now we're here. And like, I've come here. Okay.
And like I have a few like minor wee like niggles that didn't help my enjoyment of this. Like the anytime they go to a crime scene, they instantly beeline towards the evidence. Like it's one of those movies where, you know, and that you can work around that kind of in a very easy way. Like a lot of like even TV programs know how to do this, where you just have someone who's already there who goes, "Detective, come have a look at this.
We found this." Yeah, which they do a lot in like a movie like Seven. They'll do that, where they're showing up and the whole place is covered in investigation guys, and they've marked everything off.
And it's a really good way to kind of speed things up and help, you know, there we go, there's all our evidence. And then, I mean, your protagonist can find some feather or something that no one else noticed, but, you know, it helps just kind of keep the film on the rails and like keep the pace up. Where this is this is difficult at times. You're kind of just waiting for the next killing almost, because it's like something needs to happen here. And I feel bad because it almost feels like Denzel Washington is a brilliant actor, but he almost feels kind of out of place, and he's played cops and plenty of stuff, like, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, but he just seems to be coasting through this.
Maybe.
I mean,
don't know.
Denzel Washington's coasting is, you know, most actors' A game, so it doesn't affect the movie too badly. But I don't know. I just felt, or maybe I'm just used to Denzel Washington's being like fucking amazing. That,
just like blasting your eyeballs out.
When he's just playing like just generic, or maybe it's the dialogue he's given. Like, I mean, at one point he's calling cops the chosen people, which, you know, maybe hasn't aged well.
That is extremely not aged well. It was just like, oh no, this seems like, it almost felt like propaganda at one point, where it's just like, okay, rein that in, lads, as that is way too much. Like, like when they basically justify police being corrupt.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, most of the time he's enforcing like, that's really horrible, what's being said right now.
So it balances out because you're doing more good than bad.
It balances out because you're saving people sometimes, but sometimes you just want to murder people and take bribes, and that's fine. Like, oh my
I was
gosh.
grinding my teeth through that whole scene. Just, oh my god.
Yeah, but I like James Gandolfini in it because he's definitely on the take.
Oh yeah.
Like, he is so corrupt and he's playing it so well. John Goodman is brilliant as well. I think he was maybe my favorite thing in the film, John Goodman.
Yeah, they kind of, I don't know, like I think it is the direction of it. He's so nice that I think it kind of ruins something later because it almost telegraphs it, but which we'll touch on in our spoiler part of the section later. But he's almost sickeningly nice, you know. Whereas, I mean, give him a bit more. Like John Goodman, especially like at first, as I go, oh, are they doing that because he was kind of known as the nice guy around the 90s, you know, because he was in Roseanne. He was probably most known for that. But I kind of, you know, I was kind of even thinking about this and going, he's in Barton Fink though in like 1990 or 91, where he plays a complete psycho.
But when you think about the things he was known for, I mean, that was a weird movie. It was a Coen Brothers movie, but not like, basically for me, like the Coen Brothers kind of broke with Fargo.
Yes, yeah.
And then like really became sort of like well known for The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
In which he plays a very great character. So that was the point, I think, for a lot of people, where it became like, oh no, John Goodman's brilliant. I think after The Big Lebowski, people started looking at John Goodman then and being like, oh, he's really good. He's not just some guy off TV.
Yeah, he's not. He can do more than just this nice guy kind of. Yeah,
the ideal working man husband kind of dude, which he was in Roseanne, very, very, very much. But he's brilliant and has proven himself to be brilliant in movies since. So he's great. But again, the writing is all over the place in this. Like, there's that extended scene that do you think it was a product placement for Budweiser?
Definitely.
The scene where they just talk
it's actually
about
that's in the same scene as the cops are the chosen people thing.
Yeah.
So that whole scene should just be cut out. Yes, the extended Budweiser ad. Where like the scene starts with that, where James Gandolfini has like a load of fancy foreign beers,
like Beck's. Like so fancy Beck's. We got Beck's. It's like, as soon as he said Beck's, I was like, wait, what? Is that fancy? Because it's kind of watery piss.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'll have a Bud. And it's like, I got all these beers here. And he's like, and they just go on about Bud this. And they're like, hey, I'll have a Budweiser too. Let's all have a Bud.
But it definitely was, because even when he was drinking, it looked like they had like arranged it so the label was very noticeable.
Make sure you show the camera the label, because then we get $3 million.
And then after his speech, James Gandolfini's all like, "Well, hey, I think we should all have a bud then."
Yeah. It's like it feels like an actual ad from TV.
While I imagine he pushed the bile back from his throat while saying it.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. So it's long, and it's trying to do the noir thing very hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's successful, and sometimes it flubs it. I kind of like this film. I think. I like the concept of it, and I like when Elias Koteas is on screen. He's brilliant. I love him.
Yeah.
Anybody doesn't know who he is, I always just point to Casey Jones from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. That guy. He's been in more stuff than that, but that's the thing. That's the first time I ever saw him. Was in my head. He's always going to be Casey Jones, because I saw him when I was like 8 doing that. So that's him forever.
Yeah.
But he's a great character actor. He shows up in loads of things in small parts usually. He's not very often the lead. But he's a great he's great at being antagonistic, and in this, like, he's at the beginning and then he shows up on like video and stuff later, where he's kind of being great as well. So I think he's brilliant.
I would have liked more kind of interaction between the him and Denzel, because I thought that worked very well. But yeah, it's, you know, I can understand why they kind of want to keep this character more of a mystery, especially you know, you learn that he maybe isn't who he appears to be, and all that. Yeah,
but like, to me, he's always gonna be that character in the film, like that it's him. Yeah, you know, in your way that he embodies, just because he's the first person you see really in the movie, and you get the taste of it from him, and then you're like, that's him for the rest of the film. For me, is that
apparently his parts were all shot beforehand, and any actor who was then the killer, had the killer inside them, was shown his performance, and they had to kind of try and incorporate parts of his performance in it, like, which, you know,
base yourself on this.
Yeah. You know, that's who you're playing, and it's understandable why. I think from what I read, they weren't going to do, or it wasn't really an idea till they seen his performance, and they liked it so much. It was like, we want to get people to kind of have some of that feel in it, you know.
Aye. Especially if that's your introduction to it as well. Like what I was saying there, like, that's, for me, that's the character. Yeah. When I see him do it, it's like, well, that's it. That's who I'm imagining then for the rest of the film. Yeah. Is him. Because he's just so spot on, and it's really impactful. Yeah. And
I love the use as well of, you know, the time is on my side thing to
the wee coda that runs through it.
To let I'm just going to keep calling him Denzel Washington because I can't remember his character's name, but lets him know that something's up, and I kind of like there's a middle part in this movie where it's kind of slowly being revealed to him, and he's very confused and like grabbing people and going, "Why the fuck were you singing that song?" And they're just looking, going, "I wasn't singing. What are you on about?" But the only thing I have with that, though, is, and it's a wee personal annoyance of mine, is they kept using the Stones version. I would have preferred like the what do you call Irma Thomas version, or even like the actual original one, which was by like a jazz saxophonist. But the original one's like really chaotic, and Kay Winding or Winding, Kia Winding, I don't know how to pronounce it. But the original one's like really chaotic, and that would have served the story better. It would have like fit in wee bit better, I think. Yeah. Especially with like him walking in at that one scene, they're actually playing the Stones version while he kind of gets walked towards the chair. Yeah. And I think this more like mental version would have been better, but that's just me being ridiculous.
It's just you being a wee muso pedantic fuck. Is what that is.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So all in all, I think this film, I actually do think I'll mostly like this film. Yeah. I think it falls apart a little in the back third.
Definitely.
It's sort of a downhill slide in the back third.
The ending's a bit of an eye roll,
yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, which don't say anything about it until we'll talk about that later in decision time. But yeah, it has some strong performances from some very good actors.
Yeah.
And I like the concept.
I think you could cut half an hour out and it would be a better movie. I do think.
Probably.
I don't think it's like, I know I've been fairly negative on it, but I don't think it's completely terrible. But
yeah,
it's. I think, again, as I always say, it's almost like a catchphrase for me: pacing problems.
Yeah, yeah. I like the look of it, and I think they set the tone pretty well.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's again the pacing. It kind of falls apart in the final act.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if the killer's would we know if the killer was in the room, John? Do you think?
Oh,
You're the one with the cork boards. You're the special investigator here. So, I'm just.
As long as we're vigilant, they always
Indeed.
have like a tell. There's always something that they do, like a song maybe, or a mark, or the way they walk, or there's always something.
The way they walk.
The way they walk, yeah. The type of shoes
the way
they're wearing.
they wear their hat. Yes.
Wearing hats. I haven't seen someone wear a hat in a long time.
Okay, well then, how did the killer wear their hat in Peter Jackson's The Frighteners, John? What did you think of The Frighteners?
Don't be ridiculous. The killer didn't have a hat in The Frighteners.
My gosh, well, that's one spoiler there. No hats, people. Spoiler warning.
That's it. There's probably a website somewhere where it rates the hats worn in a movie, or like
Indeed.
marks the amount. But anyway, Frighteners is a terrible movie that I love.
I don't know if I think terrible is way too harsh.
Yeah, okay.
That is way too harsh for the Frighteners.
I am known for being a bit too harsh.
Yeah.
I kind of looked into it a wee bit and found that they were pushing for it to get a 13 rating.
Oh.
And the what do you call the board that decides
The
these
ratings
things?
board?
Yeah.
Are you talking about like
the specific
in
one.
like America, the
Yeah.
PG-13, that thing? I don't know what they call it.
Doesn't
in
matter
America.
anyway. But the ratings board basically, they were just adamant that no, it's not getting a 13 rating, and then they decided to make some shots a bit more gruesome. There's a shot where someone loses their head, let's say, and
Yes.
that wasn't going to happen.
Oh.
But to me, it almost explains the problems I have with this movie, where I always think this movie, after like a few years, I always think this movie is like a kid's movie in a way.
Yeah, it feels like it was I think what you're saying is like it was initially aimed at kids, and then when they realized they couldn't get the rating to actually market it to children, they then went back and tried to adult it up.
Yeah.
Retroactively.
Like,
yeah.
I wish, especially because this is directed by Peter Jackson, little known director. Not many people have really heard of him, But,
at this time, no, not really.
Actually, yeah, in the 90s, no. But he did do a movie called Brain Dead, or what's the other name for it?
There's Brain Dead. It's called Dead Alive as well.
Yes. Yeah.
He also did a fantastic rubbish indie movie called Bad Taste.
Yeah.
Which is so well titled because it is all in extremely bad taste.
Yeah. But I kind of would have preferred that kind of idea in this movie, like make it more of a, like just go all out and make it 18. At the minute, it's this like weird, it doesn't know what it wants to be. It's in this like 15 certificate, but it's not really a 15 even either. But besides that, you've got Michael J. Fox, who just, how can you not like Michael J. Fox?
Ever reliable Michael J. Fox. If he's in a movie, you're like, oh, I'm gonna like him in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you do.
And like he's playing a bit of a grifter character in this, like bit of a con man who he can see ghosts, but he uses it to kind of unsuccessfully to make money. He's kind of rubbish at it as well.
He has this amazing ability that he's decided to use to run cons on people.
And like later, when it gets into kind of the emotional side of why he's this broken character, like that's done fairly well, I think. What I don't think's done well is the relationship between him and this new girl, Lucy. Lucy in general is kind of a big problem in this because and it's not the actress's problem. Like she plays the role ably, like she's fine, but again, it's another problem of the script and the writing of it is she has to be like naive to the point of ridiculousness because she just has to believe everything this weird con artist says to her.
Yeah, she takes everything he says completely on faith.
Yeah.
Constantly throughout the whole film. She never really questions him at all. And like she's painted as being like intelligent and stuff like that, so it doesn't really fit very well. But yeah, I'm going to say that I think, yes, the writing is all over the place and some of it's cheesy and bad. I feel like there's still this incredible charm to this film. Definitely. And it maybe comes from it being like Peter Jackson trying to initially make a kid-friendly movie, which up to that point, he had made aggressively kid-unfriendly movies.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Dead Alive is just gore, and it's ridiculous. It's so over the top and stupid and ridiculous. Bad taste.
It makes Evil Dead look reserved in its gore. That's how ridiculous it is.
There's a scene in Dead Alive where he's running around with a lawnmower just like mowing like zombies' faces to bits and this stuff is flying everywhere and he's screaming and it's ridiculous. Bad Taste is like, there's a character in Bad Taste actually, I think played by Peter Jackson himself, who has like the back of his head he's fallen off a cliff and he has the back of his head is hanging open, exposing his brain, and he's got it like he's trying to like keep it taped shut and like so that his skull doesn't fall open throughout the whole film, and it's minging and it's brilliant. Whereas this movie's very much like Casperish in its ghosts and it's not as bad as the Casper movie because it's friggin' atrocious. So it's much better than that. It's way more watchable than that because it is funny and charming, and Michael J. Fox is responsible, I think, for most of the watchability of this film. A couple of other people in there. Jeffrey Combs is in this movie, and again, I've talked about Jeffrey Combs before. In this movie, he is doing the exact thing that you want Jeffrey Combs to do in your movie. He is such a ham in the best way. He's playing this weird, crazy, unsettling, unsettled genius type character who might also be a moron, really, when you think about it. But he's probably my favorite thing in this film. I think Jake Busey is great because he just looks like a crazy evil guy. It's a hard one for me because I think I saw it when I was the right age to see it. It stuck with me. I probably saw it when I was about 13, 14 maybe. I probably saw this film and I really liked it a lot then. And going back and watching it as an adult, I can see that it's like, I think maybe it was that nice sweet spot for like a 14-year-old to be like, oh, this film feels like it's a kid's movie, but it has some adult things in it that I feel like I'm getting away with watching. Like someone getting their head blown off at point blank range with a shotgun, stuff like that. So I think that it's sort of, there's maybe a bit of nostalgia in it for me that's a bit dangerous when it comes to like trying to look at it in a neutral kind of way. But I do love Jeffrey Combs in it. I love the guy that plays the sheriff as well. He's such a great bumbling rural sheriff guy. He's fantastic.
I think everyone's pretty good in their roles in this. Like Dee Wallace, who played the mother in E.T., she's playing like the kind of girlfriend of the serial killer,
Yes.
who may be troubled or
she does that so well. She has so many like gear changes that
Yeah.
she goes through throughout this movie that she does fantastically well. Actually,
Yeah, like,
she's kind of brilliant too.
She's fun to watch in this, I find. And like no one's really terrible. There are problems with the script and stuff, but as I said, we've already been through it. Like, there may be reasons to that. Like, they were trying to maybe cater to too many voices. When instead of just like going for like one thing and just hoping that it gets the rating that you wanted or whatever. But no, like there, as you said earlier, there's a charm to this movie that kind of almost saves it from itself. Because apart from the script writing, the CG hasn't aged well either.
No, I remember even when I first saw it, thinking that the CG looked bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever good, especially on, there's a sort of a Reaper kind of cloaked figure that you see a lot, that whenever you see it running about the place, it kind of makes sense sort of with that.
Yeah.
Because it's this sort of weird otherworldly thing, and the way it moves and stuff is actually kind of cool, and that stuff kind of works. But there's a lot of stuff like things undulating behind walls that all looks awful.
Yeah.
And I remember even whenever I first saw this movie, when I was probably in like 98, 99 maybe, thinking it looked terrible then. And we were coming up on The Matrix coming out then.
Yeah.
Which was a big thing for CG in movies, looking pretty convincing.
And it's a shame because like the design of the Reaper character looks great.
Yeah.
The actual design of it, and there's times where it looks all right, but then the rest of the CG just kind of doesn't hold up. But it's a minor thing, I don't mind, and I know you don't. There's plenty of movies that we would watch that the effects maybe don't hold up, and it shouldn't be a crutch for the movie to stand on as like, oh, the effects are great though. If that's the best you can say about a movie, then it's probably shit.
Yeah.
But there is, again, maybe it's a minor thing, but it's an annoyance that I have with this movie is like it doesn't really set up the rules of being dead too well, because some of them plays
around with them when it's convenient.
Some of them can like conjure up guns, and some of them can completely change their appearance to be a like Grim Reaper type thing, or other stuff, and then you're like going, so it just leaves you with the questions with it. Why doesn't he just do that, and why doesn't he just do this? And then there's this whole thing with ectoplasm. That's why some of them look like they're rotten, and it's all over the place. But it is just, as you say, you kind of have to switch your brain off for it, because it's just accept that
you kind of have to go with it. I think that the charm of it lets you do that. For the most part. There is some pretty bad dialogue in it, and a lot of it is from random ghosts. So, and like the premise is great. Like it's a good premise for, like, you could see this being a really good TV show.
Yeah.
Of week to week, like Frank Bannister.
Why did you say this out loud? It's going to happen now, but it's going to be terrible because it's not going to have Michael J. Fox in it.
No, it's going to be like some like made in Canada, like terrible TV thing. Actually, you know what? It'd probably be made in New Zealand and be great. What am I talking about? Peter Jackson can do it himself. That would be fantastic. Yeah, but I do like it. I think I still like this movie.
Yeah,
is the thing. I still had a really great time watching it.
I do as well.
Its huge flaws.
It's a majorly flawed movie, but there's something to it, and it won't have that effect on everyone, because this could be a bit of nostalgia for the pair of us. But I don't know. Apparently it was Michael J. Fox's last movie, because he got sick of being away from his family making movies. So after this, he started being in more TV shows after it. Just a
he
wee
did
bit of
that like
trivia.
Spin City
He was in
show
that
that he was in, which was actually all right.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
Mainly 'cause-
Again, mostly, if it wasn't for him, maybe it would have been terrible, but, you know.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox is always a joy to watch. But
Yeah.
there was also the mayor guy who, Barry Bostwick, was that his name?
Barry Bostwick?
He was the guy in
yes, he was in what did
Metal
we watch?
Beast. Metal
He
Beast.
was in Project Metal Beast from episode 2. Oh my gosh, yes, that's what you just started calling him, Spin City, because we couldn't remember the characters' names because it didn't matter because it was from Project Metal Beast. Yeah, he's good. He's good too. Yeah, so Spin City probably would have been actually all right without Michael J. Fox, but it was good because he was in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Michael J. Fox is great. Jeffrey Combs, I love Jeffrey Combs. I have gone on and on and on about how much I like Jeffrey Combs before.
Yeah.
He's great, and he is Reanimator. He's been in so many weird Lovecraft things to do with like Brian Yuzna, like special effects stuff. He's in From Beyond, playing a sort of you could almost see a through line of you could almost see his character in From Beyond becoming this guy.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Eventually, like if instead of like pursuing mad science, he got hired by the FBI to do it professionally. And he could definitely be this maniac. Yeah, ultimately, I think it's a film I can enjoy on the regular, even. I've seen it quite a few times, I think, since it came out, and I still liked it this time.
Yeah. There's something weird about it. There's something that, the critic part of the mind is like going, this is trash. And then there's some part of the mind going, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, this is kind of great, though. It's because I think it knows what it is most of the time.
Yeah.
It's like almost like looking at the camera with a wink and a nod of like, yeah, this is silly.
And I mean, there's enough talent there. We all know Peter Jackson is a talented director.
Yes.
The cast is, as we discussed, is very good in it. So there's enough good elements that maybe it does just,
yeah.
It puts the balance on the positive rather than the negative.
It shores the whole thing up, and it's one of those movies that I guess in the modern internet parlance one would refer to as spoopy, where it's like it has the themes of a horror movie and some things that you expect from horror, but it's not actually a scary movie.
Yeah.
Like something like The Nightmare Before Christmas or Casper or, films of that ilk, like Beetlejuice. I don't think Beetlejuice is a horror movie as such.
No.
But it's got the same it's got a similar tone to this.
Yeah.
Something like Beetlejuice. I think I just named a bunch of Tim Burton related things there, I think.
Well, he's well known for that kind of like, horror adjacent type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not really scary stuff in Tim Burton movies, but he has a lot of stuff that looks like it should be in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this stuff looks like it should be in a horror movie. Well, John, I don't know about you, but I am extremely spooked out now. I'm starting to be afraid that I could be serial killed from anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
And, like, could I be the serial killer? Could you be the serial killer, do you think?
Well, even from, like, from Fallen logic, if it's something going on, if the serial killing entity or whatever it is has kind of copped on that we're on it will go for someone close to us. So I'll maybe stand over here. Away
you
from
go. You go to that corner, and I will stand over in this corner. Would you mind handcuffing yourself to the radiator there?
Only if you do it at exactly the same time.
No, I'm not doing that. I don't trust you.
Yeah, I don't trust you.
Okay, well, I think there's only one thing to do now, John, and that is talk about what we thought of, from 1998, the movie Cure, directed by, I gotta check out this guy's name, Kiyosho Kurosawa.
Yeah.
Not related to Akira Kurosawa.
Yeah, no,
that is one of the first things when you look him up. It specifically says that he is no relation to Akira Kurosawa, even though he has the same surname. So, John, what did you think of Cure?
Cure is a fantastic movie. It's so atmospheric. It's one of those ones starts off and like kind of
so
the first
moody.
the first like 20 minutes of it, you're like, I don't know, this seems pretty slow, and it's almost 2 hours as well, so it's quite long. And you're going, is there going to be a lot of time wasting? But no, it is. Even though like, I'm almost going to say some things about this that I've said about Fallen, but in a positive light. There are some conversations in this that go nowhere.
Yeah.
Seemingly, but then the next scene will be someone casually just murdering someone.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck? And like, there's no music, there's no like it's done so matter of factly, and as you progress through the movie you find out why. But it just does such an amazing job of like getting that atmosphere right and just letting things play out, and just has this like real laborious pace that works for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see why like if you check even the trivia on IMDb, it says Bong Joon-ho, who is kind of well known for directing Parasite, has listed this as one of his top favorite movies of all time, and I can see why it does everything very well. Amazing shots
for for a filmmaker. I think this movie is probably fascinating.
Yeah.
Because of the way it's shot and the way it's paced and the way it's edited.
Yeah.
There's some real weird stuff with the editing here and there that is just like, wait, what was that?
Yeah.
You get some what was that stuff where you're just, but it's not annoying. You kind of like, I think I get what that is,
and
but
some of it even works as a red herring type thing where like you're going, oh fuck, is he going to go and kill? And then you're like, maybe 20 minutes later, you're going, no, I was completely wrong, and I get what that meant now. But yeah, like as you're saying, like these like and like it happens really random because a lot of the scenes, and I love this when they just let the scene play out and there's not a lot of cuts and Fallen. I get that it was trying to evoke that noir style, but I mean if you look back on kind of your old school noir stuff, it is all very just static camera in the room with shots of the people conversing and stuff. In Fallen, they rely too heavily on these like close-up shots, and they're just the back and forth, and I don't know, it gets tiring after a while. I love the fact that The Cure didn't. It had it had these amazing like beautiful scenes that the characters were talking in, and it all made sense, and it then highlighted, whenever those like quick edits happened, there were even more kind of, you noticed them so much more because you're like, holy fuck, what just happened there? I'm not used. And again, that slow pace of the movie, you get used to that, so that when that happens, it is really jarring. Like it's all enhanced by like the long takes. There's so many long takes in this movie, and it's not like one of those like gimmicky sort of long takes like you get in, say, one of the most famous ones is of course that one in Goodfellas where it follows them all through the restaurant. It's very, very, very cool. Yeah, this film isn't trying to be very, very, very cool. It's trying to be oppressive and make you feel uncomfortable. And there's a lot of stuff where it's just like somebody sitting and you'll see the back of someone's head and the front of the other person's head while they're talking to this person, and you're like, a lot of the times you can't see the face of the person who's speaking. Yeah. And that's weirdly unnerving. And there's this one scene on a beach that goes on and on and on. That's one of the few parts where the camera like moves, but it moves very slowly. Yeah. Because it's quite far back, so it doesn't have to move a lot to keep up with the people who are moving. Yeah. And it gives a tremendous sense of place, and there's something really grimy about this movie that I like. It feels very just sort of like there's just a layer of filth over everything and everywhere, even like the places where people live, even if they're like quite well turned out people, like their houses are generally in disarray except for maybe the main detective. His house seems quite neat and orderly, but then he is sort of dealing with his wife who has some kind of degenerative mental
disorder or something.
Yeah,
it
seems to be
she's
like
got-
early onset dementia or something like that.
It seems like it's maybe early onset Alzheimer's or something like that. They don't get specific, and again, they don't need to be specific.
No.
Because they show you exactly what's wrong with her and what the problem is, and you just know from the way she behaves that she is forgetful and has problems with, I guess, amnesia, which is a running theme throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
Is people not remembering. I guess the basic premise, I guess, is that there's a serial killer killing people, but it's different people doing the killings, and it doesn't make sense. And they always are found near the body, not remembering why they did it, but they kill them in the same way. And like, it's this wonderful mystery where you keep getting snippets of this other guy, and you're like, what's his deal?
Yeah.
And it's just weird.
And he's brilliant in it. Like,
So
I should say that as well. The performance
Miami,
in this,
whatever his characters. The guy we assume his name is Miami, I think, is the character's name.
Yeah.
But he's not even sure if that's his name.
Yeah, true. It's kind of left very open, and even when they discover, like, when the detective discovers, like, he was a student and he was looking into this, that, and the other, when they're looking into him, I was still waiting for the reveal of, like, that's not even him, like a picture of the student, and it's like, no, but it doesn't even give you that. Like, this movie, without giving spoilers at this point, this movie even ends very openly, very open-ended, where you're not sure what's happened. You're not sure, did he get the killer? Did he not? Is there something else going on? Like, it almost kind of alludes to the killer maybe being the devil or being some kind of otherworldly thing,
Yeah.
But it never gives you answers. It just kind of leaves everything hanging, and I mean that it's perfect for what this movie is trying to do, because it just gets in. It just gets under your skin, and that's it.
Brilliant.
That's exact, and that's so much more difficult for a movie to do than to just like jump scare or whatever.
Yeah, because that's cheap sometimes. I mean, sometimes you can get like a movie that's oppressive like this. And it can execute a jump scare well. In fact, the whole way through this,
there's times they earn it, definitely.
Yeah, the whole way through this, weirdly enough, the film that I kept remembering most was The Exorcist 3, which is this weird film with George C. Scott in it that shouldn't be an Exorcist movie, really. It wasn't initially written as one, and is maybe better than the original. Which is a weird thing to say about the third in a series. But it was originally written. It was based on a book called Legion, written by William Peter Blatty, who wrote The Exorcist and directed The Exorcist Part 3. I didn't see it until maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, because I was always avoiding it because, The Exorcist 3, are you serious? It's like, really, like, The Exorcist is this, like, amazingly well thought of, like, horror film from the 70s that's, like, people look at it and point to it and say, that's how you do that, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Don't mess with the formula. And then there was a sequel that was dog shit. And, like, once you hear that, you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to watch the sequel to The Exorcist, But The Exorcist Part 3 is a phenomenal film that this film constantly reminded me of.
Yeah.
The whole way through, I was watching this and I was thinking, this is kind of like that shot in The Exorcist 3. There is one of my favorite long takes ever now is in The Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
That ends with a jump scare that really gets you in a way that lingers. This movie doesn't necessarily jump scare you, really. It does weird things out of nowhere, but it doesn't do the obligatory horrible musical cue.
There's very, very little music in this movie. There's like
the music at the beginning was so weirdly inappropriate and almost off-putting.
Yeah.
I was like, because I'd seen the trailer for this movie and I was like this movie's been on my back burner for ages.
Yeah.
I've wanted to watch this movie and never gotten around to it. and then this is sort of an excuse really to watch this film to do it for this. And then at the beginning, it was like there was this sort of jaunty, sort of almost like wee bluesy, sort of honky tonk kind of piano.
Thing as well.
Yeah, and it was like, this sounds really goofy, and I don't know, and maybe I've made a terrible mistake.
Yeah.
But then there's a point towards the end where that music comes back, and you're like, it's kind of working now. It kind of feels appropriate now in this scene, which is weird. But yeah, it's done so well. The music is so scant. Whenever shocking things happen, they just let them happen.
Yeah.
They don't have like a or or anything happen. You're just left there being like, oh my god, where did that come from? That was brutal.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a particular scene that there's a fake out scene that, and again, it's the same thing with jump scares. Fake out scenes, when they're done wrong, can be the most annoying fucking, finger to the audience kind of thing. Or it can be what this movie does, where there's a scene where the officer goes home and he's confronted with a horrible, horrible scene, and it's just him reacting to this and, falling to his knees and crying and stuff. And then when it kind of shows you, that it was a fake out, it's brilliant. It's just so it's so effective, and like that feeling, you're still with that detective. You still have that lingering feeling for ages after it.
Yeah, that is the one point in the movie where I actually exclaimed out loud.
Yeah.
That particular scene that you're referencing there.
Yeah.
I was just like, I literally shouted, "No!"
Yeah.
Before the reveal. Yeah. I was like, no, and that is one of the best pieces of acting in the movie, because goddamn, I was so upset.
Yeah.
I was so upset. Like, the performance of the guy that's playing the detective in that scene was just so affecting for me. And then there's a bait and switch, and then I was like, oh my god. And then I was kind of actually like, I had a genuine feeling of relief.
Yeah.
When that happened, and I was like, and that was the point where I was just like, I think I love this movie now.
Yeah.
I think this film is brilliant now. I was with it up until then, going like, this is pretty intense and pretty good. And then at that point I was like, no, I realized I was so invested in it that it really got to me.
And then the stranger character, like every time he's talking to someone, you just have this horrible feeling in your gut, because you kind of know what's going on, or you know that, well, you don't know what's going on, but you know that it's like, don't communicate with this guy, because everyone ends up in a bad place.
Yeah, don't get into a fucking conversation with him.
And he's so weirdly also creepy and like,
yeah, which is I know that I'm gonna bring it up again, which is also a theme in The Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
Legion. There's so many weird things, and like there's a lot of like stuff happening in hospitals in The Exorcist 3 that this does some stuff with. And I think it'd be worth watching it to compare it and see if there's any other parallels, because I really got such a feeling from it.
That should, because it was, again, it's one of those ones I've avoided, because I've seen the second Exorcist a long time ago and was like, why did I watch that?
The problem with The Exorcist 2 is that it's a cash-in.
Yeah.
Whereas The Exorcist 3 was a different thing that William Peter Blatty had written.
And they've clearly wanted to use the IP so it sells more.
Yeah, and when he was making the movie, they were like, no, you're the guy that wrote The Exorcist, and this has similar themes. Let's fold these things together. And they don't do it in a rubbish way. They do it in a way that really works. And it also has, again, one of my favorite villainous character actors ever, Brad Dourif, is in it. And he is in the role that I guess would define probably the rest of his career. For me, it was like, oh, in the subsequent films, he's almost doing a version of this in the films that would come after.
Yeah.
Now he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, playing someone who was mentally unstable.
Yeah.
But then he would go on to be Chucky in the Child's Play movies. Now, I feel like I'm reviewing The Exorcist Part 3 here just because I want more people to watch it. But if you like this film, watch The Exorcist Part 3, because
I think I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Especially, I loved The Cure, or Cure, sorry.
Just Cure. Not, Robert Smith was not in this movie. It's annoying to Google this movie because that's what comes up, and you put in like, and then if you even try to get specific with it, like Cure 1998, you get like, oh, here's this performance of Disintegration by The Cure from 1998. You're like,
no, I don't mean that.
I'll listen to that later. Right now, I'm trying to find this movie.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I think this film is tonally brilliant. It just nails so much. It really, as I say, like I got so invested in this film. I was so just into it from probably about 10 minutes from the first time someone kills someone.
Yeah.
Onwards, I was just like, oh, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
This is that's when they really established the tone.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh, the whole time you're like, even in scenes where things are very calm, you're still like, because of the way that first thing plays out, you're just like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
And every time there is a murder, it has that effect because you always seem to get lulled back into that, that calm, not even calm, just that tense, like slow pace, and then bang, and you're like, holy shit. But again, not done in a jump scare way, just done in this.
Like it's almost casual.
Yeah.
It's casual when it happens, which makes it even more shocking.
And because it's so well shot as well, like you're almost appreciating the cinematography and like the scene
really
playing out, and then you're, oh fuck, someone just got killed.
You're like, wait a minit, that guy, what happened? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's always very brutal as well. So, like I can't get over this movie. To know how again, it's one of these ones that why have I not seen this before? To know. Especially though it's 1997, for God's sake, like, dragging my feet here. But I
think that was around the time that like there's a lot of movies from around that time over like a 5 to 6 year period from like 96 to like 2001 of Japanese films that sort of made their way over to the West. I feel like maybe this one maybe just missed the boat. Or maybe it just wasn't. People were looking for stuff like at that time. People were looking for stuff like Ju-on, The Grudge, or Ring, supernaturally stuff. And this is supernatural in its way, but not like that.
Yeah,
this is so much more of like a slow thriller, like a pot boiler sort of.
Yeah. I think it's a good comparison. Like, I think we've kind of stumbled into a brilliant comparison between this and Fallen. Like, to me, this does what Fallen was trying to do so much in like such a much better way. It has that noir feel. It almost feels like it not even trying. It just has it because of all these shots that it has and. Just the way it's done, like it just naturally has it. Where Fallen's maybe trying too hard to capture that, and kind of stumbles. And just the slow pace in this working out for it. I could have, although this film is like almost 2 hours long, I could have watched another half an hour, another hour of this all play out, and I probably wouldn't have noticed. I would still be. Like completely enraptured in the story and the characters. Where Fallen, I really felt that 2 hours, that over 2 hours, like the thing playing out. But I do think this is an exceptional movie.
Yeah, I think Fallen's trying to emulate those films, but this is one of those films. Okay, well, the red string has sort of started to get limp and stuff. We've kind of run out. We've got so many connections here and whipping them all around from place to place. And I put a picture of you up there and just put a big sort of question mark on your face in red marker. Just in case.
The weird thing was that question mark was already on my face, so... It
was just in the picture, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Were you cosplaying as the Riddler, but you didn't really know what the Riddler was?
Yeah, someone explained him to me in a drunken haze.
Question mark guy from the Batman. Yeah. Cool. So I think we're close to figuring out this mystery. But before we do that, John, why was Cure the best movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another another obvious one. I mean, as much as we enjoyed the Frighteners, and
yes,
you seem to enjoy the Fallen a lot more than I
I
did.
did enjoy Fallen somewhat. Yes,
Cure is something else. Like it is.
yeah.
I'm glad we can kind of talk about the spoilers of it now, because
yes, spoiler
that
warning.
ending, that ending,
My
just
God,
it just ends, just fucking ends.
It does.
I found out that there are 2 versions of this.
Ooh.
And I want to find I think it's the Japanese cut of it. Actually has the waitress stab someone.
Oh,
at the
okay.
end, where it's just kind of suggested in. Was that the version you watched?
She gets a knife and she stomps over, and then it just cuts to
credits. Yeah, that's the version I seen. Apparently the original cut, I'm assuming, is a lot harder to find.
Oh.
But I really want to find it, because there's also there's a few scenes that are a lot kind of more I don't want to say gory, probably vicious, or kind of a bit. There's a bit more kind of
more graphic.
Yeah, graphics probably the better word for it. So I found this out and really want to find that, because I definitely want to see this movie again.
Yeah.
I mean, everything we discussed there, the cinematography, the editing, the acting, the shots, like, these other 2 movies are very 90s movies. They have these like massive flaws, but the Cure, sorry. Cure just it just seems to transcend it, and it almost seems like it was like a precursor to all these J horror movies. Where almost like we were talking about Halloween last week. This movie seems to be kind of that for the J horror stuff, where it's all tone.
Yeah, it's like they're looking back at that and being like, right, well, how did he do it? Like, I think, there is actually, if you watch like Ju-On, The Grudge, it has a lot of similar sort of shots in it, like static shots.
Yeah.
Of just people standing, talking, and not much going on. Even like the horror parts of that movie where you see things. What makes it so horrifying is you just get a static shot of people, and then you'll just see, oh no, there's something crawling in from in there now.
Yeah.
Like there's one particular point where it's just some stairs. Yeah. Someone crawling down some stairs in Ju-On, trying to get away from something that is coming after them down some stairs, and it's maybe the most frightening part of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like is kind of reminiscent of the way this is shot, where it's like holding on it, it's a very normal looking scene, and then you're like, wait, what's happening now? What? This seemed so like matter of fact and like slice of lifey. Like it's like there's a sort of a tone to the film even that makes it feel more sort of like real. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, because I think Cure definitely has that, where it does feel, especially the lack of music in it. Really elevates it to that. It feels too real. There's that scene where the doctor lady is in the toilets carving someone up and like peeling bits of his face off. Yeah. And it just you almost feel like that character who walks in on it. You're like, what the fuck's happening?
You're like, what is she doing now?
And like things like that, and like the policeman character who shoots his partner.
Yeah.
It seems like they're just going, like, I love how that scene plays out, where it's just, he's getting the bike ready and he's doing something else. He goes over, checks something in the corner, and then just turns around, almost like, oh yeah, I forgot to do this, and like shoots him at point blank range. You're like, what the fuck? And you kind of, that's coming because he had a conversation with the stranger dude.
Yeah, but you don't know when or how it's going to happen, and then you're like, oh, what? Oof. Yeah.
And then, shows you him pulling him back into the police box, because, of course, they have to be carved up as well. But yeah, it's such a well done movie. Like that scene that we touched on earlier, where the policeman walks in and his wife is hanging, was possibly the most shocking and most horrendous scene. And
it was brutal. Like, yeah.
But I mean, you could go on and on. Like it really, it really did make me kind of just wonder why I had not seen this movie before now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, me too. Like, I mean, I really slept on this one for so long.
And I'd heard it. I've a list, and I know you do as well. I have a little list in my phone of like movies that I want to watch that I've heard bits from, and you know, I've heard, oh, that's a good movie, you should check this out. And even if it's coming from, you know, like a friend or someone, and I write it down and go, okay. And for some reason, I kept passing it up. And it was actually you decided we should have this in here, and thank God you made that suggestion, because it's great movie.
Yeah, I think it's really weird that we were able to get 3 movies that fit this category so well. Supernatural serial killers.
Yeah,
you know, it's a bit weird. Like, it's basically as soon as I remembered Cure, and I was reminded somebody put it on a list. Basically for like, Halloween-y movies. And I was like, I still haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I should go back and watch that. And then I was like, wait a minute. If it's about this, then, I guess. And the first thing that jumped in my head was Fallen, because it's so obviously a supernatural serial killer thing. And then I suddenly realized, it Frighteners as well? Yeah. What? Of course. And it was like, there's actually 3 movies about supernatural serial killers.
There's probably we could probably look into it more. There's probably a ton.
There might be some more. I didn't like. I thought of those and I was like, oh wow, that actually really works, that group. And then I couldn't think of another one at all. But you know, I guess it just worked out. So yeah, I think Frighteners. I like Frighteners quite a bit, but it does suffer from being almost sort of halfway to being a kids movie.
Yeah,
but not.
I think there's something tonally that is off in Frighteners that I still like. I love it in a way, but it probably is being dictated a lot from nostalgia and Michael J. Fox being awesome.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of great in it.
Yeah,
it's just that the script's not great. Like, I love the jerk guy whose fence he runs over. Like, such an asshole. In
fairness, you know, someone ran into my fence, which I don't have.
Like that as well. Like, he really tears up his garden, and he does it deliberately, and he's just being a dick. Like Frank Bannister's kind of an ass. He
is, and again, you know, if he was played by anyone else, it probably wouldn't work as well, because Michael J. Fox has this kind of, just has this aura of like, it's hard not to like him, you know.
Yeah, he's kind of got a Keanu Reeves thing going on with that, except he's maybe a bit more. He's got a bit more range than Keanu Reeves, I think. Not to be mean to Keanu Reeves, because I think he's great as well.
I think he's doing well. It's fine.
I think he's doing just fine. But yeah, Michael J. Fox, he's someone I miss in the acting. You know, obviously he doesn't act really anymore. No. Because of his Parkinson's.
He had a really good couple of episodes in that series Scrubs. Like Scrubs, one of those series which I kind of enjoyed up to a point. It started, it got progressively worse as the seasons went on. Yeah. But Michael J. Fox is really, like, he's a standout. Kind of couple of episodes with him in it.
There was an emotional punch to the ones he was in.
Yeah.
That worked.
And maybe plus he has such good comic timing as well. Like, you know,
he's very funny, but there was this running undercurrent in that, where if you knew about his condition that he really had, those episodes are almost about that. That becomes a thing in it, where his character has a genetic condition that he's looking for a cure for.
Yeah.
And then that becomes like this ethical issue in it. That's the thing I used to like about Scrubs, is it had real ethical dilemmas that doctors face in it, while being a comedy and being very, very serious themes while being funny. And then it went the way of the Simpsons.
That for a while.
Yeah, it went the way of the Simpsons, where it was like, this has gone on way too long and we've run out of things to write about, so now we're just doing boilerplate boring sitcom
rather than
stuff.
dipping out gracefully and going, we made something unique and special here. It kind of it just fell to ruin.
And you know, Michael J. Fox, of course, great. I love Jake Busey as well. I think he's a good villain.
He's a brilliant villain. Yeah, he has the same kind of energy as his dad. Like, he's
very good in those roles. Yeah, maybe would have been a bit too scary for kids, maybe, which maybe is
Just
part of the reason.
Jake Busey in general.
Yeah, I mean, the way that big grin of his is a little unnerving when he smiles. He's really good at that. So it's great. Fallen, I think we've said most of what we don't like about Fallen. I still like Fallen quite a bit.
Yeah,
it has some flaws.
I mean,
it's mostly
now that we can talk about spoilers, it's that the end has serious problems. We're like,
the end is a garbage twist. It is such a garbage twist.
The John Goodman thing with Donald Sutherland. I mean, were you fooled by that?
No, it was really obvious.
Obvious. Straight away. It's like, well, John Goodman's the serial killer now. Yep, and then it works out well. It kind of, as we said, like he was obviously the nice guy, or he was typecast as the nice guy, kind of thing at the time, and he gets to ditch that and kind of go a bit mental towards the end, which is fun. Not enough of him being like that for me in this movie. And then the very end with the ghost, or what do you call him? Aziel?
It's Azazel.
Azazel.
Yes.
Him going into the cat, and then just the choice of having sympathy for the devil playing is the most
so
90s fucking thing. It's like Devil's Advocate does the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just so cringe.
It's so on the nose. Here's the song with the word devil in the title. We'll play that really loudly at the end of the movie, just in case you didn't get it.
Yeah. It was almost like I was rolling my eyes the whole time for that whole sequence. Apparently there's a fan edit that they changed the ending where it's Azazel gets killed, so it just kind of ends with him.
So
they
fixed
probably would have been
it.
better.
Some people fixed the end of the movie. I think that's a better ending.
Yeah,
the twist does annoy me, because not that you can see it coming, but it's a deflating twist. I think it's that's kind of a shame.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame that that's how it ends. It feels anticlimactic to me, to be honest.
Definitely.
I think. So definitely Cure is easily the best of these three movies. No trouble. On a technical level, it's brilliant. The plot's brilliant. It's so well paced. Yeah. It is really, as far as I can tell, again, you never really know when something is in a language that you don't speak firsthand, but it seemed to me the performances were on point.
Yeah.
It certainly affected me quite heavily. Both the antagonist and protagonist, I think they both put in like really great.
Yeah, and all the ancillary
really
characters as well, like
the
wife and the various like
the various victims, I guess you might call them, because the people who are the killers are almost victims themselves.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, they're all really good. Like the first one that they find, that's a really great shot. Actually, that's a really great reveal of the first one. Like he's literally hiding in a wee cupboard, just down. They're all like, "Oh, we need to put out an all points bullet, and we need to make sure he might have a motorcycle or a bicycle. We need to close this off, close that off." And he's down around the corner, and he stops, and he's like, "Wait a minute." And he just turns and opens a wee cabinet, and he's just in there naked, just shivering. And he's like, that's the first that's like the second what the fuck moment involving that guy. I mean, the first one obviously is just like the sudden brutal violence of the kill, and then you're like, wait a minute, what? And then that's just like from there, the whole thing is just like, that's the tone from there on. It's just, yes, this is, I don't know what's going to happen now.
Yeah. And
even if I did know what was going to happen, it still feels like it comes out of nowhere. Like you read the plot of it, and it gives some of that away. But even then, like just like the log line about like the basic what the film is about, you can still like go in and be like, oh no, this is still really shocking.
And I mean, it's testament to how good it is that, you know, it almost doesn't matter because it's done so well, and it's shot so well that even I'm still to watch it for a second time, but I don't think it'll lose much in it. I can already tell, you know, that it will be as good. I'll be able to appreciate a lot more, probably even find things that I didn't see the first time round, you know. So I'm actually looking forward. I need to find this other cut of it.
Yeah,
See
yeah.
what that's like.
I would like to see how that ends. So yes, that's definitely hands down easily the best of these three movies. No contest, really. No.
It was a little unfair to even group the three of them
Indeed.
together.
Right. So which of these movies do you think best educates us then to catch or thwart or contain a supernatural serial killer?
Well,
I mean, if we're going on success of the protagonists in
Frighteners
these
wins.
films, Frighteners wins.
I mean, the other two kind of get away, or it's
Sort of.
implied that they might. And I mean, the end of Cure is so open ended
it's
that
so ambiguous.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's hard to even tell what, because once the credits roll, you're like, what? It's like,
Yeah, I was
Did I
shocked.
miss something?
I was waiting for another scene,
yeah,
and then the subtitles just said credits,
yeah.
and I was like, "What?
I,
What?"
I even waited. I thought it was going to do like I'm going to call it the Marvel thing. Films have done it before Marvel, but the after
sequence?
credit thing.
Well, I
was-
like to call that the Masters of the Universe thing. Thank you very much. Skeletor said he'd be back. Where is he?
Is Master of the Universe not in the Marvel?
I really don't
Universe.
think they'd let He-Man in. No. They have
fools.
a specific bouncer at the door to make sure He-Man stays out.
He's
don't
always
think-
trying. God love him.
Yeah, I don't know who owns He-Man. I think Netflix own it now. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think the further Disney stay away from that stuff, the better. Don't buy that.
But just to get back to the question,
Yes.
Frighteners is the only one that successfully gets rid
Yeah.
of the
Now-
killer.
They send him to hell. Well,
Yeah.
they use his love for his girlfriend against him.
Yeah.
The killers in the other films don't really have an attachment like that.
No, they're very divorced from.
Serial killers can be sort of now. It is maybe a misnomer that serial killers are always loners and they're always highly intelligent and this and that. That is kind of a myth that has been propagated by Hollywood.
A big myth, considering a lot of serial killers. There's that thing where, like actual serial killers, you'll have these interviews with people who know them, and they'll be saying, "Oh, he seemed like the nicest guy ever, and he was so helpful."
Yeah.
And little did they know, and it comes as a shock. Again, not all of them, but serial killers come in all shapes and forms.
Indeed, they run the gamut. Indeed, and these killers, our killers here, run the gamut as well. I feel.
Yeah.
I don't think that the killer in the Frighteners is particularly smart.
Mm-hmm.
They're both maybe him and I guess they're both serial killers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they're very they're kind of joint at the hip, so to speak.
They are. They're running a collective total between the two of them.
Yeah, which I think's
So-
cheating.
I think that's cheating as well. Yeah, I don't think they did get to 42. Really, I think they got to like 20 each, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's nothing to be proud of.
that's not to be.
It really
Okay,
isn't
better.
anything to be proud of. Don't
No,
be
it
killing people.
genuinely isn't. No, it's not. You shouldn't be bragging about stuff like that. Yeah. So
So
I
basically, we
guess-
need to find something that our would-be killer
mhm.
or definitely killer
Yes.
loves and use that against him. Is there
Well-
anything on this board that?
Well, John, there's a big picture of you in the middle
Uh-oh.
with a question mark on your face.
Okay.
You know, so I'm starting to think. I mean, we have a friendship.
Oh.
So if you're the killer, John, you have to tell me. If you're the killer, you legally have to tell me, or it's crime.
Are you implying that I love myself?
Um,
Hey.
maybe everyone should love themselves,
Yeah.
John. That's
Just-
healthy and natural. You should love yourself,
Even if you're a serial killer.
not in a narcissistic way. You know, even if you're. I think you know what. I think that's the lesson really here, isn't it? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
is that you should learn to love yourself
And not murder people.
And not murder people. I think that's the best one. So, John, I'm not going to arrest you because I'm pretty sure it's you. So, I say we just write this one up to experience. I don't think they're paying attention to anything we're doing here in the basement anyway.
Yeah.
I think what we should do is we should get waffles and ice cream.
I think they might have lied about this, the usage of this basement.
I'm starting to feel like they just wanted it. Yeah, well, I've always felt that they just wanted us out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe we could solve this one and prove ourselves to the guys upstairs. I don't really care about the guys upstairs anymore. They can stuff off. They are not invited for waffles and ice cream.
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah.
That'll show them.
Yeah, let's go get waffles and ice cream and just forget about all this magical serial killing. Now, maybe you're influencing my mind in a supernatural way here that I don't know. But to be honest, I don't care. Which is probably part of it.
Yeah.
But hey, that's fine. Please don't kill me. So, that's all we have time for this week. We are on Twitter. We are at 7dayapocalypse. That is at numeral 7dayapocalypse. You can email us on filmcast@thisweeksapocalypse.com. That's filmcast@thisweeksapocalypse.com. This week, stop messing with my mind, you. All right. We're also uploading full episodes to YouTube as well. And as I say, love yourself. Don't do serial killings. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is.